Okay, continuing with our UV mapping, I'm going to show you some of the tools you have available to you in Blender to help us take care of the back side of this. We'll go into edit mode on this over here and do an all select. As you may remember, we decided to move the back over here. Now one option you may have is you could select those faces right there, scale them down, put them on a red part of the phone, and that would certainly do the job, but it really doesn't do the job very well. So we're going to put that back there, and I'm going to show you how to, let's see, go ahead and turn that on. We're going to go in the image menu here, turn on texture painting, and under view, we're going to turn on our paint tool, and going to use the draw, and for the color palette we'll select the color palette, select the sample, pick a color sample, and then we will paint. And I'm getting sort of a fade here, so we want to set the opacity to 100%, and I'm just going to paint this in right here. So that's one option we have right there to give us a nice even back. Something that I can do too to give us a little bit of more of a painterly effect is let's choose a darker red, and we'll set the airbrush. We'll set the size a little smaller, and let's just, that's no good. I'm going to undo that. Let's see. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Egad! That's not what I wanted. Alright, let's go back here. We'll paint that out like that again. Wanted something much softer, very soft opacity. If you have a pen tablet, you can turn on tablet pressure, but we're not using the pen tablet right now. And let's just make that a little bit darker. Let's go around the edges here with a little bit of that. And then we'll use our soften tool. We'll soften that up some. And mess around with it a bit. That doesn't look good at all. But you can see what you can do. Let's see, I did a Control Z there. I want to do an undo. No more undo steps. Well, if I'm not happy with that, you can see that the functionality here is limited, but it's certainly there, able to use. So we'll teach you more about the image paint option in the future. For now, I'm going to sample that again and turn up the opacity, turn off the airbrush, and turn on draw, and just paint that in again. Alright, there we go. Nice red. And let's go over here, tab out of that, select the bottom and tab onto that. And here we can do the same thing. We can paint that in. Okay, let's see what we can do about this edge here. Got a little bit of a white edge going on. That is from where the back of this is touching the white, if you can see that right there. Let's take our paintbrush, sample some of this gray, We'll adjust the size of our brush some. We'll come in here and we'll just paint in a little more gray here. Let's make that just a tad darker. Or we'll do a resample right over here, some of the darker things. Adjust the opacity some. Let's see, it's still too much. Bring the opacity way down. Adjust that a little bit. Come in here and adjust that a little bit. Take a look down here. All that looks okay. You can see that looks better. Alright. And up here, this specular highlight that's actually part of this phone, that is it's probably not what we want. So I'm going to do something like 0.05, a very, very soft opacity, and I'm just going to dull that out. Very, very light opacity there. And that way we won't get too much on there. I can just paint back and forth over it. Alright, that's the top of our phone. Let's see where that problem's coming from right there. Again, we'll select a color sample from right here. Very light opacity is enabling us to just shade that in slightly. Pass a couple of times on it there. Let's look for any other problem areas. Right there we've got some problems there. Go into edit mode on that. So as you can see, taking a lot of time to really properly prepare your images and work with them can be important, but we're going to show you some different ways of doing UV image mapping as we go along. Alright, it's looking pretty good. Now, we've got a little problem here in that even though I added faces to this, they're not showing up. And we're going to talk about that next. The reason these faces aren't showing up properly is because the directions of the faces are flipped. And what we need to do is I need to come on, turn on a setting for you here. Over in the editing buttons, in the mesh tools and more, we're going to turn on draw normals. And here I can see the normals are pointing out, it's the way they should be, and here the normals are not pointing out. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all the faces of this object, and we're going to tell it to calculate the normals to the outside using the Control N command. Recalculate normals outside, and we sent them out. There's also an individual button. You can take a face and do a flip normal right here if you need to straighten something out. But again, the command is Control N. Sorry, you have to have your mouse in the 3D window. Control N, recalculate normals outside, and usually that will fix that. So let's go back in our shaded view and then go back in our textured view. Still, we don't have anything there, so those faces are not getting an image. Let's figure out why that's going on. Alright, it's tab. Let's all select that. Alright, something has happened. My image is not mapped to those faces. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select the cell phone image, and voila, it should be mapped again. But you can see I have here gone outside of my picture, so I'm going to paint some in there. I'll change the size, increase the opacity, clean that up a little bit. Alright, so not absolutely perfect, but pretty darn good. Kind of like it. So what we'll do in the next exercise, next step of this process, is we're going to make some pictures of this cell phone.